Hello, it's Book Chick again. I thought I would do a fun video about books about food, and I have less than I thought. One actually turned out to be not about food and actually um, kind of scary, so it's not listed, but I have a catalog of all the books that I have. I know I'm a nerd, I'm weird, but I have a catalog of all the books that I have, and it's called Bittersweet Dreams. So I thought, oh, maybe it's a mystery about a bakery. Like I have a lot of those, and so I was like, maybe. And then I found it on my shelf, and I was like, definitely not. It's by B.C. Andrews. So no. So in honor of this video, I'm wearing my Luke's diner T-shirt. It's not a real one. I want a real one that just has the little coffee mug in the corner. But this is the one that Amazon had. All the others were sold out. So anyway, the books that I have picked for today are With the Fire on High. I'm actually reading this one, so I took the book jacket off, but I think it's really pretty the way that it is. And this book has recipes in it, so if it has a little tab, then that means that I want to try this recipe. This book is about a teenage girl named Imani, and she is a teen mom. She got pregnant at 14, and she has always had dreams of becoming a chef. And then when she got pregnant, it kind of like put those dreams on not really on hold, but like she has so many other things to consider. Like she doesn't feel like she can go away to college because she wants to stay close to her daughter, and she lives with her grandmother who is very old, and so she doesn't want to force her grandma to raise her daughter. So even if she does decide to go to college, it's going to be in Philadelphia where she lives, and it'll probably be a culinary arts school, but her grades aren't very good because of everything that she's gone through, and she just doesn't test well. So she's honestly not even sure if she'll get into the culinary school in her area. So this book is obviously it's a YA because it's about a 17-year-old girl. Um, but it's so good, and it deals with like so many hard things that teenagers have to go through. I'm gonna move my mirror so I can see the book in the background. Um, so, and I love that because a lot of YA books don't talk about hard subjects. Like they talk about hard stuff, but like it's like, oh, this boy doesn't like me, and that girl is like rude and just awful to me. But like she's dealing with real problems, like really hard problems. Like she's trying to figure out, does she want to go to college? Does she want to stay home? Is she going to raise her daughter herself, or is she going to make her grandma raise her daughter? And if she goes away to college or goes to college in general, what kind of financial strain is that going to put on her family? Because they don't have a lot of money, and then her grandma is like pretty old, so she's honestly worried, like, what if I go away and something happens to my grandma? Like all these things that like a teenager with a not hard life wouldn't have to think about, like things that so many kids don't have to worry about. Like this author, Elizabeth Acevedo, she talks about all these things, and she talks about like one of the guys in the book that Imani meets. His brother, something terrible happens to him, and that's why he transfers to this school that she goes to, and like and Imani is having to deal with like all of the problems with her baby daddy, and like he's a jerk, and like his mom is like evil and like won't like see her grandchild unless she's like dressed in her best clothes. Like this is just so good. And in the midst of it all, when she cooks when she doesn't when she cooks when she's nervous, and she cooks when she's happy, so basically all the time. But like, and she describes what she's cooking, and there's one passage, I'm about halfway through it, she just cooked something, but she was in like such a funk, like she'd had like a terrible day, and so she just started cooking and didn't realize what she had cooked until it was done and she opened the pot and realized what she had cooked. Like, she just went through the motions and it was still amazing. So she's learning how to be a chef and like learning how to go through the world and learning what it is to grow up and all of that stuff. This is just, it's just such a good book. Like, you should totally, if you have teenage daughters, you should read it with them. If or you should just read it. Like, but I would, if I had a teenage daughter, I would want to read this with her because it has so much great life advice. Like, definitely read it. And it's just so pretty. Like, it makes me happy to look at it. And the descriptions are beautiful. So that makes me happy as well. The other two books are actually part of a series. I don't have the whole series, but a friend loaned me this one, which is actually like book 25, and then this is book 1. I read part of this book a while back, but it was like the library version at the time, so I had to give it back, and then I wound up buying it. Still haven't read it, but I did read this one, number 25, because a friend loaned it to me, so I wanted to finish it so I could give it back to her. These are by Joann Fluke, and they're always like this one is the chocolate chip cookie murder, and then this one is the banana cream pie murder, so it's always like based around like a certain recipe, but then each book is like full of recipes. And like if I recall, like this one I don't think has like a lot of dinner dishes, but it does have lots of like dessert dishes. But then I think as like as she continued writing, she started to add like dinner dishes and sides and things like that. But and the recipes are actually like really good. Like, you can actually make delicious food out of them. I know some books, like the author just like throws in a recipe and like it just sounds good, and like you try to make it and you're like, this is awful. But I have tried recipes from these books and they're always really good. Like, I tried the cheesy beer muffins from this one, and the oven French toast, and they both turned out really well. You can literally just follow the recipe from the book and it works. I did write them down in a notebook so that I didn't ruin the books, especially since this one isn't mine. But these are really good. The mysteries are super cute, and like, I never usually guess like who the murderer is until like the very end. Like, you don't usually figure it out till like the last 100 pages. So I'm always really impressed by these. These are actually the books that the Murder She Baked mysteries are based off of on Hallmark. So these are like super cozy, just cute murder mysteries. Like, obviously someone dies, someone is murdered, but like the rest of it is super cute, and there's always a little bit of romance, and there's always baking and like happiness and everything, and it always has almost always has a happy ending. This one did kind of have like a kind of sad ending, but like they did find the murderer. So these are really good as well. There are over 20, I believe. The next one is Fried Green Tomatoes by Fannie Flagg. This is also a movie, and it's a fantastic movie. This one actually doesn't have any recipes in it, but it's just great. Like, if you haven't seen this movie, you definitely need to watch it. I have not read the book yet. It is on the very long TBR list, but it follows a like middle-aged woman goes to a nursing home and to visit like her husband's aunt, but the aunt doesn't like her, so she winds up visiting with like this other lady who's in the nursing home, and she actually turns out to be really sweet, and she starts telling the middle-aged woman her life story, which is like really crazy. And like, she lived in Whistle Stop and opened her own cafe, and their like staple menu item was fried green tomatoes. And like, they're always talking about food. Like, there's always barbecue, there's always fried green tomatoes. I think they mentioned like pie at some point, but like, the story itself is fantastic, and they do talk a lot about food, and the title is food, but like the story itself is just so good. Like, and I believe it has a happy ending. But it follows like Iggy Threadgood's like whole life story, right up until she meets this middle-aged woman who came to the nursing home to visit her husband's aunt. But really, really good. Like, she's lived such a hard life. Like, her brother dies when she's very young. Um, her best friend marries someone who's like incredibly abusive and like evil, and they wind up like saving her from him, and like all these crazy things. And her favorite, Iggy's favorite thing to say is to Wanda, which basically means I'm gonna do whatever I want. Like, so that's, and this is like a big movie in my house, so I gotta read this book sometime. Gotta get to it. So, and then the next one is The Particular Sadness of Lemon Cake by Aimee Bender. This obviously is sad, but I read the back of it before I started filming. So basically, on the main character's name is Rose Edelstein, and she finds out when she's 9 that she can taste the emotions that people have when they make a food. So like her mom makes lemon chocolate cake, and her mom is like usually like a very happy person, like really happy, and she takes a bite of this cake and it's just like filled with sadness. And so she finds out like this is her like power or her gift, if you can call it that, which that leaves much to debate, because something that causes you to feel like sadness and sorrow, like despair, like I don't know, that's a hard gift to swallow. So basically, like she finds out that she has this ability, and her family has been keeping all these secrets from her. Like, her mom is like hiding something, and she says she finds out about her mother's transgression, whatever that transgression is. Her dad's like pretty detached, and her brother is like retreating away from the world. Like, so I assume he's becoming like an introvert and like hiding in his room a lot. So like, it's about food, but this sounds like it's gonna be a pretty sad story. So I'm kind of like happy that it's short. I've had this on my shelf again for like several years, just haven't gotten around to reading it, as with most of these, but I am interested to read this. I'm interested to see how much more it talks about food. I don't know how she found out about her dad's detachment, unless he like made dinner or something one night, and like the same thing with her brother. So like, I wonder what they made, and I wonder like what emotion told her that they had done something wrong. So this should be interesting, but this is the last one that I actually have that is about food. So I hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope you consider reading some of these books. I like the ones that I've read so far, and I do like the Joann Fluke series. I just haven't read the Chocolate Chip Cookie Murder yet, or like most of them. I think I've read actually like 2 entire books in the series, but I do love them quite a lot. And then With the Fire on High is just spectacular. So definitely check these books out, and if you could hit like and subscribe, that would be really super helpful. So I hope you have a lovely, wonderful day. See you next time.